All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you, and welcome back to episode 5 of Viva Talks. So tonight, our topic is protesting a waste of time? And I have guest speakers Kepresh and Thought Juice here tonight. All right. So
All right, all right.
is protesting a waste of time? Now, when we had the incidents during Ferguson and with Trayvon Martin, I did think protesting was a waste of time. I absolutely was against protesting. I thought people was just going out there and making noise, and it wasn't beneficial because I didn't see any policies being changed. But fast forward to 2020 when we had the lockdown because of the pandemic, and more people were able to see what was happening because it was taped, to George Floyd. And
Right.
because of the outreach that that incident had, we did have some policy changes because of that incident, because more people were able to come out and be more organized for a cause, and it was more diverse, I guess. So I'm kind of on the fence, like, okay, I guess protesting can be beneficial, but then again, sometimes I think that they're not beneficial. So I'm still in the middle when it comes to protesting being beneficial, because it and with the George Floyd incident, I'm not even sure if it was beneficial because um I'm not sure that we had a lot of policy changes because of what happened. I don't know if it was because more people were able to see it on TV and because of the diversity. I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm trying to say. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think when it came to the George Floyd situation, right? I think it was just how violent it was. It caused a response. Like people got to watch somebody die in live time. So that's never gonna sit well with humanity like that. So you're gonna get a particular response. And I think yeah, they marched, but technically all we got out of it was a bronze statue that don't do much of nothing.
Yeah.
So without tangibles, marching doesn't matter, right? And I think it's a time and a place for it. Like in the 50s and 60s, it mattered because the black community, all we had was each other. There wasn't too many it wasn't all this weird diversity. It was really like black versus everything. So when you were marching with a purpose to position your people to get some tangible things, to position your people to be in a more powerful state, to position your people to not be in a weak state, and to be able to move the future generations forward. So you're marching and protesting with a more tangible purpose. But I think now it is more symbolic. And what is symbolic, we can do that on a holiday like Kwanzaa, Juneteenth, if y'all want. If it doesn't bring anything tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know what? So as I'm thinking about what y'all had said so far, right? And I'm like, okay, marching, right? When you were talking, Grant, I was like, okay. I said, we can't say marching doesn't matter, right? Because it's like all those that are marched, they rolling in their graves and rolling their eyes, looking at us. You know what I mean, right? But however, it's like marching matters, but right, it's not everything. It's one piece of the puzzle. Marching, I believe, can raise the consciousness. Like we know when that unfortunate incident did happen to George Floyd, there were some people that looked like you, looked like us, that were like, oh, as confused as they probably were, they were like, oh my gosh, this really happens. You know what I mean? There actually probably were some people like that. You know, um, I was very aware that this happens all the this happens all the time. What happened to Floyd happens every day, right? Um, so it raises the consciousness for some people and awareness. For the protesting, yes, you had a lot of black people out there. You had other races out there trying to support. Now, was that the conclusion of everything? Oh, hell no. You know what I mean? Like, right, the bronze statue and the symbol of it. Okay, that's fine, but what about some real tangible changes, like the brother mentioned? It's just a piece of the puzzle, I think.
Right. Yeah. So when I do my polls every live, and I got a lot of yes. No, I got a lot of no's. That the question is protesting a waste of time. A lot of people said no. And I I wish I didn't get a chance to like get more feedback from them, but I wish I had more feedback to ask them why did you say no? Do you think that protesting is beneficial? Because I really haven't seen any for our community, the protesting that we've done. I don't really see a lot of changes being made, and it makes me go further into saying, I mean, protesting should be more disciplined, action oriented and more centered focus. Like we need to be specific on what we're protesting about, and then we have to get into what's going to happen after the protesting when you
Right.
go back into your cocoon or whatever. Like the real deal is after the protesting, what's going to happen? Because I find that a
Right.
lot of the protesting ends right there.
It's the follow up. Yep, the follow up and the organization after the marching. Absolutely.
Yeah, like protesting used to go along with boycotting,
Hmm.
Yes.
right? So when you were protest, you were also boycotting something. So you were
Mhm.
causing a financial rift to
Yes.
happen, and with the protest, so you're stating your claim, and you're causing financial turmoil as well. So basically, what has happened is you get the protest, but you don't get the statement, the riff, the actual like, oh, you do this, we cut off our money to that,
That's
and
right.
stay with that for like a year. Could you imagine if like George Floyd thing happened and every every black person in America just canceled like their Netflix? That plummets a company,
Right.
like completely plummets a company.
Hmm.
And
That's
that's
right.
what you kind of need. You need that force multiplier. If Because protesting, marching is supposed to be the non-violent version of revolution
That's right.
to get your point across. So
Mm-hmm.
you still need that force multiplier, even if it's a non-violent force multiplier. So I think we're missing the non-violent force multiplier.
Right.
Like Biden and Kamala Harris, President Biden and Vice President Harris, they were supposed to be working on, I believe, that George Floyd bill or that Lift Every Voice bill, or restructuring how police are fined or disciplined when they do certain things. And those would be actual tangible things, right? But you don't see any of that. But because it's either one or two things. It's either all talk because the
Hmm.
people are not willing to cross like a major rift to something, either by like, not voting, or you know what, we just all vote in Green Party. We ain't vote in red or blue, we just all go vote Green Party or
Right.
something like that. Like meaning like the danger of a complete political shift from like being Democrat and like a few Republicans to like a completely different party, that
Right.
risk, right? So you don't
Hmm.
have to do nothing. If technically what we're experiencing with the protesting and the marching stuff is there's nothing, we don't have a shot behind it. And it seems we're just going off
Right.
supposedly good word, right? It's one thing if I'm like, hey, let me hold $100 and I'll return $100 on a Friday like I said I would, you go, okay, I can trust Capresh to do that, right? Or you loan me, I loan you $100, you return it on a date that you said you would. I can trust Thought Juice to do that going forward. So it's no problem. What we're doing is we're loaning out our vote or our money or our time, and then the return is not coming like other groups get the return, right? You see 3, 4 videos on the news of Asians getting attacked, and now you have an Asian hate bill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? You see 3 to 4 of the same attacks run 1,000 times on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And they all look like deranged people, deranged homeless people, no regular person, straight deranged homeless people.
Right.
And most of the attacks, when you look at the statistics, they're verbal attacks, like arguments. So the Asian hate, or technically 80, I think it's like 87% of all attacks on Asian is arguments. 87% of attacks on Black people are violence.
Violence with the police.
Or whoever, like it's just straight violence.
Yeah.
And there's no bill going like, stop Black hate. You know what I mean? Like it's
go through the trenches to get a bill.
Right. And I think that's my only thing with protesting. Protesting is not a waste of time, but it is a detriment when there's nothing behind it.
Right.
And I was just going to say, I think that's why people would say that, because it's like, hey, listen, we know that, it's about them tangibles. It's about them tangibles. And a lot of times it's just language and, symbols. We actually need something applied. You know what I mean? Applicable. And that's where, I can understand people being frustrated, but I still think is the reason I feel like it's still necessary. And I just thought about it with Halloween approaching, right? Now, I'm not a big fan of Halloween at all. So, but I'm like, hey, tell them, hey, listen, I'll just get you some candy. Oh no, I want to march. I want to march and trick or treat. It's not the same, right? So I think the marching, like I said, it's a part of it, but I think because we've seen it almost be like the whole, the whole offering, it's been like, okay, well, you guys marched and, okay, you guys okay now, right? Like, nah. It has to be a tangible, and that has to be the focus even more than the march. You know what I mean? The tangible.
Yeah. And I would like to add on, like going with like, is protesting a waste of time? Who we protest, we protest. All right. It's going to sound crazy, but it's really true if you think about it. If a Black person does something, we will go to the end of the earth to destroy them. No matter what it is. We all Black people, we're going to the end of the earth to prove some type of righteous thought process, which is cool, right? Because we should be righteous people anyway. But we will go to the end of the earth, but another group can do something. And too many of us speak of forgiveness with nothing behind the forgiveness. And that's another form of like bad protesting, right? What is wrong should be protested, right? Somebody doing something to kids in community, rapey, pedophilic behavior, absolutely need to be stamped out, stomped out, and banished. But now we have other groups that's doing insane things, and we protest the hair store that's beating up the sisters, but then we'll go back into the hair store 3 weeks later.
Right.
That's bad. Like you got to pick your poison. That's what I think. Like as a people, we have to learn to pick our poison and do without. The reason our ancestors, their protesters and marches work and got things done, is they would drop the hammer of not dealing. Like look at the boycott. Look at the bus boycott. They literally nobody rode a bus in that area for a year and like 2 months or something like that. Crushed the economy.
Right.
I think as a community, we are the Black community. We're too forgiving.
Too forgiving.
Right.
Too forgetful.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We fought. So, some people even argue that, what, during segregation, we were actually stronger because integration, we were like, oh, okay, yeah, you accepted us. Like, that wasn't the damn goal,
You messed
actually.
us up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree with y'all. I agree with what
Because
y'all saying.
like now we protest to be liked.
Right,
Like then we
right,
protest for a power move. See,
Hmm.
that's
right,
the difference, right?
right,
Like, would you rather be liked or would you rather have power?
Right.
right,
Would you
right,
rather be respected or like would you rather be loved or would you rather be respected?
right. No.
Because love fluctuates just like any other
Hmm.
emotion.
Love
But
Mm-hmm.
hurts sometimes.
respect keeps you grounded.
Right.
Right.
It keeps people off of you. And I think like we've chose to do a lot of dancing with the hat and the stick and the tap dancing for for monetary reasons, right? Like
Yep.
look who leads our protest. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying they're not genius, they're not smart, they don't have these careers, they weren't doing these things. But a lot of things are really they're kind of like paid for too. Are we talking about grassroots or are we talking about mainstream? Like the protesting has become two different factions. You
Yeah.
have a grassroots and now you have a mainstream.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
so the
Yep.
mainstream, you see them everywhere. Like they could be everywhere, but that don't mean their agenda is for really black people. It really be like for themselves and like the five other people that run or 12 other people. So you're losing the goal. The reason that made like Dr. King and others really successful, it was all grassroots. It was all for the people.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
what,
Right.
there was no way for Pepsi to back that
right. Right.
or
And I think,
MasterCard to back that. Like they'd be like, what? Like it was literally, nah, we got to get these voting rights, or we're just not doing this, or we got to have this, or we just not doing that. We got to have better schools, or we're just not doing that.
yeah. And I think
You know what
piggybacking off what
it's
you
like?
said, Keprish, um
Mhm.
the I think the protesting is like being watered down because of so many access to social media. Anybody could be seen as an activist nowadays, and they're not really activists. You just happen to be at the right place, and you taped it and you sent it to some media outlet and you blew up, but you're not an activist.
But the media outlet paid you for
Right.
it.
Right. What were you
it.
saying?
It's not like they sent it to you and said, "Hey, put this on your show. This is world news." So your thing begins to become the new like black media or black thought tank or whatever we calling our podcast like this.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm. Yeah, it's becoming very watered down. What were you saying, Thought Juice?
I think he froze.
He froze. Are there any
Like
protests?
froze profile style.
He'll be unfrozen soon. Are there any protests that any current protests that you find to be successful?
I think all of them are they make things of notice, right? So you get the Instagram post,
Yeah.
you get the Facebook posts, you get the actors, actresses, musicians to say like a da 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 da, and then like, but I don't see anything legally happening.
Right.
Like
Right.
I didn't. All right, so we watched the cop kneel on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't see anything going like if as a police officer, if we catch you doing an act like this, your pension goes to that family.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? That changes how people operate in certain situations. You be like, whoa, I was on this force for 20 years and my pension will go to this family. Yeah, that's a tangible thing.
Mm-hmm.
You are forced to now kind of you might not even like the group that you're policing, but now you are forced kind of in a way not to do certain things because now your livelihood is being affected. And I think like those type of things is what we need to be done. It doesn't. People are running around yelling defund the police. You need police because half of the people saying defund the police can't fight, can't hunt, can't swim, can't make
Right.
a fire.
It's like they just follow the masses with what they say, like, do you even know what that means?
What does that mean? What does that mean? See, me, I believe in complete like high disciplinary shit for the police. For those who uphold the law that break it, the action that happens to them need to be more severe than like a serial killer. Like it needs to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to like, we found a corrupt judge. Automatically, everything you made out your account, like you
Mm-hmm.
put like innocent people in jail, like it's gotta be so stern
Right.
that the next group go like, because that's reform.
Mm-hmm.
You're reformulating how things are done. You're reforming that, oh, that pay underneath the table. You're reforming that prison to pipeline system. Because now got to be a certain, because I think ultimately what Black people have always wanted is a certain level of fairness, right?
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
As,
That's it.
like I would rather have like power and control, but I understand the group wants fairness and likability. That's cool. So if that's what we're dealing with as a majority, even I gotta respect it, but you can't get that fairness and likability by just yelling out phrases like
Mm-hmm. Defund the police.
from the police. But half the people saying that would be beat up after dark if there was no police to call.
Right. Right.
Right? You would be Trump. Like you don't box
Need the
nobody.
police at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
yeah. Most Black areas you need the police.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so you can't defund, meaning like you can't absolve it, but you should seek to have real stronger penalties for cops that do illegality, like a
Right.
literal like a Black law. Like if you are caught doing this to a Black person, you will lose your pension, and maybe your house that you live in goes to that family.
Mm-hmm. So those are some of the policy changes that
Right,
we
right.
need.
Or becomes like a community center now for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Like you gotta have things that really make people go like, I don't like them, but I gotta act like it. And I
Yeah.
gotta do the right thing because I uphold the law. I think that's just a better approach. But yelling out like Black Lives Matter, yawn.
Yeah.
But
And it goes back, Keprish, it goes back to what we always know, like economics is our power.
it is. And economics is the economics with a purpose though.
Right.
Because it's the purpose is only to own like 20 cars in a 100-room mansion. All right, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if the purpose is really like, okay, I'm creating something, you've created something, he's created something, we combine those things, then we branch out with others. Then we combine those things. That's of like, of course, right? That's running similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we branch out. Then we got a web, like a Black constructed web that the highest ones can funnel to the middle ones can funnel to the lowest, and we can radiate our money. But I think that's something that we have to just seek to do for, I would say we can do it present day, but I
Mm-hmm.
think we're going to have more of that in the future, especially with everything coming online
Right.
or what have you. But I think that was always the goal. But economics without governmental policy to protect you is tough, meaning like we need more Black male teachers in schools, we need more
Yeah.
Black male judges, we need more female prosecutors, we need more like it's just a lot to it. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have all the economics, but if you don't have the like, why is it we don't have like a Black guardian angel going through these gang communities? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, why is it that we don't have like our own Black EMTs in Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm.
Others have their own thing. So I think that's That's just where I'm at with it, like that. We have to really work on our, I think our system, like we have the vision, but our systems
Yeah, we have to
are
put a lot in place.
just not in place where they should be. So if I'm a millionaire, you're a millionaire, Thought Juice is a millionaire. We make 5 other millionaires. We live in one community.
Right.
It's not enough, really, because then we can have a community center here that does art, community center here that does fitness, community center here that does STEM, community center over there. But if we don't have like the functioning system to control it, and if we gotta always outsource our, our brain childs, it's gonna be really tough to maintain that economic system, because then we just basically go becoming like the new talented 10th
Mm-hmm.
in a
Right.
way, instead of like a grass rooted group
We got.
of people, right? Like that.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know I missed some, but you know what? I'm catching the theme of what y'all talking about. You know what? Absolutely. We have to go back. It's almost like like the EPMD song, the crossover. We don't went commercial, right? We don't went commercial, and we got to go back to where we understand that out, is for us, by us. I know that's FUBU, but it's all for one. You know what I mean? It's not okay. I'm doing this, and you other are not doing this or whatever. That is a crab mentality. That's actually the mentality that they want you to have, because and I know you've seen the meme where they said, "Listen, if all we have to do is stand up, and the game's over." Like everyone's under the monopoly board.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. You know what I mean? We do have a lot of division because of the systematic oppression and shit like that that's been put on us. But I think that's where the protests are needed, because we got to get out there and build. We got to get out there and build, and we got to connect minds and connect energies.
Right. So protesting is not a waste of time. We need protesting with a purpose
Right.
for it to be
Yeah, yeah.
functional and sustainable.
Yeah, and we don't need other groups in the front of our protests. That's a problem.
That's a
You
big
gotta
problem.
you gotta take your ass to the back of the line, but you can't be in the front of the line.
Oh
And
my God.
it can't be no other agenda to our plan.
Right.
It can't be no hypersexual agenda. It's gotta be one for all for one. Because what you do in your personal time, gotta do. But if the 80% is being affected, we gotta figure out that 85%, that 90%, that 10%. We don't forget about them, and we definitely uplift them as we go. But that can't become the dominant force either. I think we always, like as African people from different parts, whether Aboriginal to American, whatever people calling themselves, you know what I mean? Whether Caribbean, whether continental Africans, whether like European Africans, like end of the day, we're always going to practice a little bit of form of tribalism, little bit.
Right.
When that tribalism get out of control, and we forget that, oh no, that's my brother over there, that's my sister over there. It just weakens the whole. Japanese don't like I don't really say, well, yeah, Japanese don't really care too much for the Chinese don't really care too much for the Koreans don't really like the Filipino, but as soon as they say Asian hate bill, they all said
Yep.
each other.
They stick together.
It wasn't even a thought.
Right. It's automatic.
And we got mortal enemies here, like Japan tried to kill off China at one point. And like literally chopping the men's heads off with katanas. And they said, what? Yeah, I'm with it.
I think that's something that we have to develop in our community. Like,
right.
Stop fighting with each other. It's automatic. When something goes down, we just in the front line.
That's it. Like we're the only group who go like this. A word.
Thinking, oh, my paycheck, oh this, oh right. That, oh no, I'm cool with the boss,
Right. Like we be putting other groups just be like, yeah, we want that for us.
That's how the Jews are.
That's it.
Something happens on Crown Heights, they stop what they're doing and get out there.
What's happening here? All
You know,
right, let's call our own EMT. Let's do our own like.
if something happened in our community, there's always an outcast in the group to say, yeah, you did that, or just snitch. Come on.
Like I think when it comes like our community, we just gotta have that faith in each other. I think we just lack faith in each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when you speak to the average black person, even when you listen to the average podcast black person on here, they're really a lot of black people are white supremacists and dark skin. It's very weird. Like they need to join the Ku Klux Klan. Like they're very anti-black
Mm-hmm.
until it serves them,
Mm.
right? Until it serves them, then they go like, I was discriminated. But before that, they were like, you niggas need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and climb up 10 ropes and swing from the bars. And they didn't even do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think we have to recognize that, yes, some of us had different upbringings,
Right.
right? But we are all divine and we all have our own skills. And I think that's something we got to promote. Like I don't view myself greater than the mechanic, and I don't want the mechanic to view himself greater than the plumber.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the doctor to view themselves greater than our nurse, and then our nurse view this. Like we be having these hyper inflated egos, but losing. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're on the same team. It's like playing on a team and everybody trying to dribble the ball,
Mm-hmm.
but there's only one basket for the win, and everybody going like, "I'm taking the shot. No, I'm taking it." You know what I'm saying? Like it's very like we don't collaborate.
Yeah, our community is very cutthroat.
Yeah, just no collaboration.
Mm-mm.
Like we got sisters versus the men now. I never realized so many of our men and women was bitter toward each other. Like
Yeah.
it's very odd. Like for me anyway. Like I'm dope with ladies. Like I don't have no rift, but I'm like, yo, where these men come from? Where these women coming from?
Like you said before, is the lack of respect.
Right.
You know.
Just don't respect each other. We gotta, I think before we point the finger at any other group, we gotta kind of do this, because the heart system and our hope system for each other is just
Mm-hmm.
just really too far off. And I don't really know if we have to have good dialogue like this and about solid questions like that. But I think, everybody always go like, oh, we're taking down white supremacy. But what is supreme about white people? Nothing. There's nothing. So even the verbiage is off. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing supreme about them.
Right. Yep.
Like it's interesting. Like white supremacy. Like I hear this so much, and then I'd be like, okay, but what do you do to be like, I guess, black supremacist, if that's a thing?
So I guess another thing is we have to reframe our
Right.
words, our thoughts. We have to re-educate ourselves.
Absolutely.
Consistently all the time. I think that's what's really lacking. Also, we constantly have to keep reading books. Just to develop a more critical thinking whenever we speak words or whatever comes out of our mouth. Because, like what you said, Keprish, I do hear a lot of people that just say things that make no sense. So if you say white privilege or white supremacy, what are you calling yourself? It's like you're putting yourself down.
Right. Like, because I only view us as gods.
Right.
So when I see other black, I'll be like, yo, we gods.
Mm-hmm.
So there ain't nothing gods and goddess. So at the end of the day, you might not be a god and goddess. You might be a king or a queen. You might not be that. You might be a engineer, entrepreneur. You might not be that, but you always good in my eyes. If anything, you just gonna be good in my eyes. If you don't see no divinity in yourself, it's all good, but you're still good in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think like our structure of like only thing white people did, they just connected their systems together. Rothschilds linked up with the Carnegies. The Carnegies said, yo, we moving over here with them. And then they said, oh, we gonna move with them. And then they just created a conglomerate. But guess what? That's smart. That's what you do because you want your systems to continue for your generations. That has
Mhm.
nothing to do with anything. That's a power play. All listen, black people go to all these schools. We have all these black scientists and engineers. Ain't none of us ever go like this. You know what? We gonna start creating our own like complete. We gonna just have our own construction company, do our own buildings, our own building companies.
No, we
All
don't.
these other black engineers work for other people.
Mhm.
Thousands of them. Ain't 500, ain't 100 of them get together and say, hey, we're gonna get this money up. We just gonna start building our own building designs. The way
Right.
we see
No
it.
talk like that.
Don't talk like that. All these scientists, oh, there's that thing out spreading around the world because I don't know, we can't say it if you post it on YouTube. And all the black scientists go like, hey, let me examine this and see how this affects my people and just create our own thing, just in case if we're scared of the other companies like Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can go like, hey, we have like 1,000, 10,000 of us. Let's just do our own thing. Like, I don't I don't get that about us. That's my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all this genius, and it's just like I don't know. It's just like waste. It's almost like we have genius, but we don't have the thought of each other behind the genius.
Mm-mm. Very selfish
Yeah.
mentality. Okay, so we're running.
Are we running on time
Yeah.
again?
Let's get into the chat.
All
So
right.
Lenore said protest should be a united demonstration for the long term of the reason we are out there. Yeah. Because we have short-term aims for protests, and well, our protest, Black Lives Matters, that's always going to be long-term. It's never going to end. Nicole says you sound like her husband.
Oh, all right. All right, cool. I hope that's a good thing.
Yeah, he has the same. Are you able to see the chat, Caprice?
Yeah, I just clicked on it. I can see.
Okay, he has the same mentality.
Like,
All right. So, any final thoughts?
I guess my final thought is on the topic, protesting with the right, going after it with the right angle. Not for the fame of it, for the purpose. Like our protests have to be very purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like our protest leads into there's schools in our community right there in Brooklyn. No books still.
Yeah.
So already the school, like we gotta our protest, like we got. I think I'd rather see our protest now because it's always got a boomerang back and forth. Like we gotta really protest the things we don't like in our community and shut a lot of the ignorant and negative things down and re-strengthen. I think we've kind of have commercial like watered ourselves down a bit too much, or maybe not watered down, but we have spread ourselves too thin. Because black people, we really talk of every group, right? We'd be like, oh, but they do that over there, and they do that over there, and we do that over there, and they do that over there, and then we come back to each other, and we already wore out. Like I think we got to recompartmentalize what we want as a people too. And I think that's something that we never really discuss because human beings have different goals. Different tribes have different goals, and we need to know, depending on the tribe you in or on, what's your ultimate goal, and then we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
In this modern era of there's a lot of information, so people have really kind of chosen what they believe in, even if the information crazy, they still believe it. You know what I'm saying? So we got to see who's believing in what and what information is good for the whole, the majority of us, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have us do like some internal self protesting and then work our way back out, because then that way we can have a tangible thought where we want to go with our protest in the future.
Right. Yes. Very protesting should be more organized. It's not just going out there and screaming, chanting, putting up signs. It's deeper than that. It's what you're doing behind the scenes when no one is looking. Like what you said before, our ancestors, they were doing some heavy work before Rosa Parks With the bus boycott, she was deep doing grassroots work. A lot of people don't know that. They think this was just a lady that just went on the bus. No, this lady was in it. And I think that's where we need to also be. We have to just make a decision that we're going to speak up more.
And join an organization. The reason Black organizations fell, I mean, only like 5% of Black people are a part of any community.
Right.
We can't talk a community if we all ain't doing community things, or at least 60%. If we can get that 5% to 40%, I think you will see a major change.
Yeah.
Or we can get that 5% to 30%, we can
Right.
see a major change.
Right. We have to give back more. I mean, I'm not saying we have to, but
if you want to win, you have to. If you want to win, you have to.
Right. It's important to give back. A lot of people, I don't have time, I need to get paid. That's very critical, and with giving back, there's gonna be a time where you do get paid from that. It's in the long run, you got to think big. Right. And I think a lot of also our issues is we're thinking too small as a community.
Yeah, we're not thinking like longevity and legendary. We're really thinking like right now. Next month,
yeah.
Rent's due, and you can't really you don't get no wins without no sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Period. And we become a people who don't want to sacrifice. Think about it. George Floyd was getting knee to neck, 9 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Black people in that crowd. Not one person threw a garbage can. That's a weird fear. Not one person goes, whoa, this is crazy. I'm just going to throw this can over there. I don't care what happens.
Right.
And then the other people go like, well, I'm throwing some shit too. Like, you can't shoot everybody. Like, it's just weird. But all right, we'll film it and watch somebody die.
Right.
Or on the train, a woman just got raped in Philly.
They stood there and did nothing.
Recorded it.
Right.
Men recording. I go, and then they posted. I'm like, what? What? Huh? And I'm not telling anybody to put a cape on and be Superman and run around with an S on their chest.
Right.
But there's just certain things you just have to do. You got to take it.
Right. Or be from a distance and say something. Look,
you throw a garbage can over there, you can run the opposite direction. They got to get off of him and chase you.
Right.
You got to be like, yo, you can punch him. Listen, somebody, you duff them out. You ain't gotta like, it's crazy to me. Like, I think our social media has made people super cowards because they're looking for likes on YouTube or IG. So they're like, oh, let me record this. So it looks like I'm being a hero. But technically you end up just being a coward.
Right.
That recorded it.
Right. We gotta do more. We gotta do more.
We gotta be better about that. We gotta have love for each other enough to take that risk. We gotta have love for humanity enough to be like, hey, this woman can't get raped on this train and there's like 10 other men around. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's crazy to me when I saw that.
That's crazy. They should go to jail too. You know what I mean? I hope they're white.
It's like Keprish, it's like bullying. The bystanders are just as guilty as the person who's doing the bullying.
Right.
Oh, okay. So I'm reading some more comments. My husband said that he could not have been there when George Floyd was getting kneeled. He would have jumped in definitely. Absolutely.
Sure, I would have ran in. Listen, I would have ran over there and at least pushed people. I'm not saying I would have sidekicked the cop in the head, but maybe I would have. Or I would have chucked my cell phone right at his head like a frisbee. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, to make them jump up, because guess what? When groups of people surround 4 other people, they have to move. Right. It's a safety issue. So even if it's just a fear tactic, but goddamn, we don't really need to see him choked out from 22 different angles.
Right. And we're more powerful in a group.
Of course.
All right. Tonight's live was excellent. I mean, every live is excellent, but It's a great topic.
Right.
So thank you, Caprish, and thank you, Thought Juice, even though we lost him.
Right. Right. With the cool profile picture.
And thank you to the audience for coming on. So the next live will be in 2 weeks, episode 6. Yeah, so this is it. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and I wish you well. And just know if you're going to a protest, make it purposeful.
Right.
All right, Caprish, thank you so much.
Right. Peace.
All right, bye.